What's up, everybody? Welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I am Rockin Robbie Billups. It's Friday. That means it's time for the Rex and Robbie show. So let's bring in Rex. What is up, my man?
What's going on, brother? All right. So today's topic is my 10 favorite Cowboys. Right? Tom Landry, Roger Staubach, Emmett Smith. Oh no, wait, that's not today's topic.
No, that's not today's topic. I'm not that guy that's gonna like shove a loss in your face, Rex. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I'm thinking that I pretty much jinxed us with my relentless badgering of you on Monday night show.
Yeah, you did. You even were talking about, you can't throw interceptions and win football games. And I was like, just wait. And what happened? What happened, Rex?
And I'm sitting there watching the game going, crap, I'm going to call out sick on Friday. So I'm going to show it, Robbie, because it's going to be the top 10 Cowboys. I know it.
No, not at all. Not at all, man. So last week we had a great discussion about the future of the MCU and maybe some fatigue, right? And what's interesting to me is that we had that discussion last week. There was this article that came out. It was like a survey done, I think, through like Variety or something, where they found, and I don't know how they conduct these surveys. Nobody talked to me. I doubt they talked to you. But apparently 33% of MCU fans are feeling like it's wearing down, right? Like that it's oversaturated. There's too much and all that stuff. But only like 55% or something people like are solidly positive in their head right now about DC. So DC just had recent news. Peter Safran, James Gunn, putting the head of DC Studios, right? They got their own in-house studio now dedicated solely to making these movies. We got this idea now that James Gunn and Safran have gotten together, have formulated an 8 to 10 year plan to have one cohesive story being told through a series of movies. They will continue to have those one-offs or whatever, like the Joker movie or the Batman stuff. But for the most part, everything kind of directed to one purpose with one focus. So today we're going to talk about this. What do we expect out of the James Gunn, Peter Safran era of DC films? First of all, Rex, are you excited for this news?
I am, and I'm not. Okay, I guess. First, thanks to everybody who's joined us. Fighting Dice, Figure Drawing, Marcus, what's up, buddy? Sheldon in the house. A ton of people already joining us. I'm excited on the one level in that you figure it can't be worse, right? So it's kind of you're at a point where we talked about last week, where the MCU was, in the first phase, there were such low expectations that anything could really be a success. In a strange sort of way, I think the DCU has put itself back in that position. At this point, we're excited about James Gunn. We're excited because obviously, everything he's touched has really turned into success in this realm, whether it be Guardians of the Galaxy or Peacemaker or whatever. So it's nice to know that there's going to be somebody that's going to try to guide this thing into one direction as opposed to everything that's happened. But part of it is also our expectations are so low at this point. Anything Gunn does is probably going to be well received. I mean, come on. You're remaking movies, which I got to tell you, okay, you make a bad movie, call it a day. It was a bad movie. All right. You're remaking movies like Suicide Squad with entirely different casts, okay, with the exception of a few. And, then you had the Snyderverse, the Zack Snyder version of Justice League. And then you released that horrible 6-hour black and white version. I sat through maybe 2.5 and I'm like, oh, this is boring, and it's black and white, even worse, right? So I don't know, how can you genuinely do worse than this? So I think the expectations are rock bottom. So anything that they do, at least initially, is going to be well received.
Me personally, I am excited for it because I do think that, a lack of direction has been something that's been plaguing DC. And more so than that, probably more like interference from executives and stuff. Now, I see people in the chat saying that DC needs a team of people to helm and make the 10-year plan. It's asking too much for Gunn to do it. Well, Gunn's not doing it by himself. He's got Peter Safran, but we have no problem with Kevin Feige making those decisions over at Marvel's. And Discovery Bay has a good point. How can you have one cohesive story arc spanning 8 to 10 years if you're still doing out of continuity projects like the Joker? I don't think it matters. I think people will understand that the DC films are separate. Like, we know, like, we're not confused by, wait, how is there a Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie? I just watched Dark Knight and the Joker's Heath Ledger. Like, the audience is smarter than studio executives like to think. And I think James Gunn understands that. I am a fan of James Gunn's work. I love Slither. I love his Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I wasn't the hugest fan of his Suicide Squad movie. I did like it, but Peacemaker I thought was amazing. I think he understands more. I think he understands more the connection between these characters and the fans, right? I think that's something that he will understand and bring to the table that has been lacking in DC. So I'm kind of excited for this. Now, in this new era, Rex, what do you want to see from this James Gunn, Peter Safran era of DC?
Well, I think a lot of the viewers had really good suggestions of ways to go. I think a Brainiac, major bad guy on a Thanos level could be really good. I'd like to see. I mean, what I'd like to see is some resolution with Batman. Okay, and this is my problem with Joker. Not so much that it wasn't a great Joaquin Phoenix role and it was a great independent film, but I think that this has been the problem all along. You have these spots of success, and then you're also trying to get a universe. I feel like you can't be one or the other. At some point, you've got to cut that out and this should be something that even the accountants agree on. You have no way to build on the next film or the next film, or have, even I think the MCU is a perfect example of this. They'll throw out lousy movies. We watch them, we complain about them, but we see that how it ties in. You lack this discussion. As popular as Joker was, it created no buzz or no help to any other DC movie. And I think that is part of the problem that they have of keeping that as much as everybody's complaining about the MCU, it's still cohesive. It's we're not all acting like Endgame, like, woo, that was great. There are dissenters. There are people that are complaining, oh, this one sucked, that one sucked, and this one was so. But we're still talking about it. Screaming goats and all, the box office receipts were not so bad for Love and Thunder, right?
Yeah.
You're comparing it to, well, it didn't do that well as this or that well as that, and that's true. But they made a profit. They did pretty well. So I think that the problem with DC is it lacks that. I like the Batman movie with what's his face, and the muscle car Batmobile.
Yeah,
independently. Right. I liked it independently. I thought it was a decent movie. But again, you've retold that story. Who said it? Maybe you said it, maybe John said it. I don't remember, but I don't really need to see Thomas Wayne and his wife killed again.
Yeah.
I've seen it a million times. I've seen it in a million different iterations, different ways, different actors, whatever, different, sets. I don't need to see that again. And that's part of the problem and the failure is every time they go back and they make, another Batman movie and another actor, another director, another vision, inevitably we always go back to that one scene, and I don't need to see that again. And that's what the continuity of the MCU helps you avoid. And there's no anticipation of seeing the next one because it's not tied to anything else, and it doesn't encourage me to see any other DC films either. Black Adam, it's Dwayne Johnson. It's an interesting story. It's whatever, but that's because of Dwayne Johnson. Okay. That's because it's a new topic. All right. So, figure drawing. Yeah. Wakanda Forever. And not everybody has walked away from Wakanda Forever with a positive note. Surprisingly, John was kind of critical of it. Other people I've talked to, a friend of mine, came out with his grandkids and said he loved it. He thought it was fantastic. But you still have that continuity. We have a base point that we're comparing after.
Well, again, I got a question then. What is the What's more important to you? And you out there in the chat, let us know. What's more important, making a good movie or making a movie that sets up something else, leads into something else, and builds up momentum for a series of movies? What's more important to you? Because for me, I'd rather have a good movie, even if it's not connected. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would just rather have good, solid movies, right? And it's a bonus to have them tied in together. Doing what Marvel did over 10 years with the MCU leading into Infinity War, that's going to be damn near impossible to achieve again, I think, for a long time, right? So I do like the idea of now I don't need, and they did say there's not going to be 4 different Batmans or anything like that, right? So they are going to try to streamline some things down. I think this Batman series, there will be the Reeves Bat universe doing its thing. But for the most part, everything else is going to try to follow in. Now, how do you do that also when you already have these movies in the pipeline that Gunn didn't have anything to do with, like Aquaman and Shazam and a new Wonder Woman film and this Black Adam film? So he's got a crazy task of how to take what some perceive, and probably rightly so, as a mess and make something out of it, or just start fresh. But you can't just start fresh and he's got a 4-year contract right now. By the time the 4 years, like there's movies coming out like that he has nothing to do with. So it's a really weird place to be in. But what's more important to you? Just focusing on getting the right creators the right characters to make the better movies, or the cohesion of it?
Well, I actually agree with what Mark McGrath is saying. They're not mutually exclusive. It can be both, and it should be both. Okay, you should try to make a good movie and put out a good movie that audiences are going to enjoy. But you should, the true success of the long-term future of it, if you want that long-term future, is you also got to tie it into a universe. There's no reason why it can't be both. So I don't want to say one's more important than another, but if pressed to the wall from a practical financial standpoint, if you're forced to say, okay, what's more important, one or the other, I would say the universe is more important from a financial aspect. So MCU has proved that by producing some questionable movies and throwing them out there, where the direction is, again, I'm going to have to go back to Screaming Goats. Okay. Yet you were able to sell that. The DC universe doesn't have that power right now. So you make an independent film like Joker, it's critically and well received by the audience. Now what? Okay. Without Joaquin Phoenix, you're not going to be able to go a different direction with that, right? Because a lot of it is become that Joaquin Phoenix kind of thing. And we saw it with Moon Knight. We saw it with even She-Hulk, where the actor and their strength, brings it in. So that certainly saved Marvel in a lot of instances, I think. But DC is completely dependent on that. And Joaquin Phoenix says, you know what? I'm done making Joker movies. Now what? Now you got a problem. Now you got a big problem. Okay. And it's demonstrated you can't just throw somebody into that role behind the makeup, behind the cowl, if you will, and it's going to be great. We all know that the Ben Affleck Batman was widely panned. Okay. Nobody likes him as Batman. He doesn't even like himself as Batman. So you can't, if you depend on that actor, then you are totally dependent on that actor. And if they don't return, your franchise is dead. That becomes a problem. You make a universe big enough, somebody decides, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. Okay, we're going to kill your character off. Yeah, okay, we'll do that, and you can still get away with it. So I don't know. The problem is the years of messes that they've made. I think is the baggage that they're going to carry through, and I think that's going to be Gunn's biggest problem. Somehow taking all of this mess, and this is what the MCU did not have to deal with in Phase 1. They didn't leave behind a whole mess and have a tear down before they had to build their new house. They took what was essentially an empty lot and built their house on it. So it's always going to be a tougher job when you got to tear down and you got to rebuild. So that's where I see his challenge is going to be. And what are you going to do? Again, that commitment. So this is where the accounts are bad. So you say, all right, well, they're not going to be 4 different Batmans. But since Joker did so well, we're going to make another one. Okay. or everybody liked that version of, we'll call it muscle car Batman, so we're going to keep that, but he's not going to be tied into the universe. So how many, that there becomes the other problem. You're going to reach saturation point before you've had even that success.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the danger that the DC universe has right now. You're going to end up saturating without really getting the benefits of saturation. How many Batman movies are we expected to see? Well, this is going to be the DC universe Batman. This is the independent Batman that doesn't exist in the DC universe. This Joker does not exist in that either Batman's universe. Well, by the way, you want to bring Michael Keaton back.
Well, the thing with the Batman and the Joker, right? And those aren't under this Gunn era, right? Those were done before him and all that kind of stuff. The problem is that DC sees the money there, and so they're chasing. There should not be a sequel to that Joker movie. I think that Joker movie stands fine on its own as like a love letter to Martin Scorsese. Like, that's what that is. It's Taxi Driver and King of Comedy mixed together, but with the Joker thrown in there. That's the corporate greed, right? Now, James Gunn, obviously money is an influence in his life. Obviously, he's a bigwig. He makes money and all that kind of stuff, but it seems like storytelling's his kind of forte. That's what he's really into. So I actually don't know how they're going to handle that, because it almost seems like there's going to be the Bat universe, and maybe the DCU is going to be less focused on Batman, which I think would be good, because it's always been too focused on Batman, because it was like all they had over the last 30 years was just milking Batman movies, and you get some good films out of it, right? Some of the Tim Burton films, the Nolan films, and I don't know. It's a tough thing, because you're right. Marvel, it has the luxury of, they got to come in. They didn't have to like bring in Ben Affleck's Daredevil and make that work. They didn't have to fit in Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. They didn't have to do that. They just started with their character. Maybe that's something that James Gunn will do. Maybe he'll be like, okay, what haven't we done? So he's already started doing. So like, what do you expect? Do you think, obviously he's not going to just start over, right? Like, that's not going to happen, right? Aquaman made $1 billion. If Aquaman 2 does well, and then we got this Flash movie, but I think they've already moved on from Ezra. They're just trying to get that movie out to recoup that money or whatever. So I don't know. It's a weird place to be in. Would you prefer them just to say, screw everything, it's all done, we're starting over right here? Or would you prefer him just to kind of try to course correct into a direction?
I don't know. I'll be honest with you. A hard stop and then start again with brand new is probably not going to work, because one of the things you're going to have to do is we're going to be hit with a bunch of origin stories again. Okay. So once again, you're going to watch Thomas Wayne and his wife get killed, and watch the progression of how Batman becomes all messed up in the head and decides to put on a suit and spend all his money and that type of thing. I don't think we could stand another Superman origin story, to be quite honest. All right. We watch the Kent family. Who's going to play them now? So I don't think that's even really an option. So integrity, I guess that's probably what they're going to do, which is not the best solution. I don't know. And they haven't helped themselves since the takeover, right? The Discovery merger. They really haven't helped themselves. People were anticipating seeing Batgirl, and you shelved it, okay, with no particular reason other than, well, it was a financial decision. I'm not sure how that helps you. I'm not sure how anybody wants to hear that. It's one bad PR move after the next. The Snyderverse. You succumb to fans' demands, which I don't disagree with. But then it just feels like you're constantly going back and fixing it, all right. Well, we mess up, so we're going to do it this way. Suicide Squad. Well, that was a bad casting on our part, but we're going to do it this way. Okay. The only good that actually came out of it, and I'm hoping, okay, this is what Gunn's going to be able to do, was he took that tragedy of a film that was made not once but twice, same exact film more or less, okay, except now you got a talking shark in it, second time around, and he took that one piece, he took Peacemaker right out of that, created a series, and it worked. Yeah. So I think that's kind of the way that he's going to probably have to do it. He's going to have to take select elements, certain ones he can't avoid, Superman, Batman, obviously Wonder Woman and Aquaman work. So you're going to have to, you're going to have to keep those, but find a way to kind of take that core and do something else with it that's going to hopefully surprise us, and then introduce secondary kind of characters into the vision and build them up in the same way he's built up Peacemaker. I think that's really all he can do. You can't go back and remake the whole thing. You can't, I just don't see eventually these single movies outside of the universe are going to end. They're going to end because eventually Joaquin Phoenix, who's a tremendous actor, I'm a big fan, starting with Gladiator, I thought, he's a tremendous actor. He's going to say, you know what? I've done it. It's done. I'm done with the Joker. Okay. I need to move on to a different role. Okay. He's that kind of actor, I think, and I think he will. So then that's going to eventually die. If you're going to stick with the Ben Affleck Batman, big mistake in my opinion. All right, then eventually the independent Batman universe, okay, we'll call him Muscle Car Batman, is going to end as well. Okay, because you're not going to continually, you're going to try each movie. The company itself is going to try the money grab each time. Well, it's working, so let's hit it again. And then eventually the box office is going to die, or an actor like Joaquin Phoenix is going to say, "No, I'm done. Bye bye." Okay, I want to, I want to stretch my acting chops and do something totally different. And you got lucky with Joaquin Phoenix because I think he saw the role as very unique, and it was. Looking at the Joker from an entirely different perspective, and it worked. But how many times, Joaquin Phoenix is not the kind of actor that's going to be willing to do, Rocky VI. Okay.
Yeah.
I just don't see him being that.
Yeah, I think that it took a lot to get him to come back to do this. Actually, I think it took, and when I say a lot, I think I mean money. Like, I think it took a lot of money for him to come back, and like I said, it's so puzzling to me to do that. To do a sequel to that movie, because that's a perfect one and done. In some movies, not everything needs a sequel. Not everything has to be a franchise, right? So James Gunn loves more obscure type characters. We see that love in Guardians of the Galaxy. We see that in Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, right? So I'm sure he's going to be focusing on some of these characters. But he also said that he is going to focus on those big ones. Like, it's going to be a big deal. Henry Cavill, he's back. There's going to be a Superman movie. There's a lot of teasing out there right now that they're wanting to do a World's Finest movie with Superman and Batman. Maybe a Justice League 2. But for the most part, what I'm gathering is that they're trying to start kind of solo films, small, and build up into something at the end, right? Now, we've already heard rumors of things like Lobo's interested. James Gunn put out a tweet where it was a picture of Mr. Terrific. He's talked about Deadman. What are some characters that you would like to see that DC is not utilized yet?
Wait, I'm sorry, say that again.
What are some characters that you would like to see in DC films that they haven't utilized yet, like a Lobo or a Deadman or something like that?
A Lobo, a Deadman, which I know that Gunn has talked about or has alluded to. I like to see them take another shot at Green Lantern. Okay, I think that could work. The Arrow series was obviously very popular. I'd like to see them try to turn that into something more. But I will go back and say one thing, and this is in related to what Retro Girl is saying. Zaslav as CEO, he's got to shut up. He really does. Okay. Stop making comments. Stop having press conferences. How do you go and say, well, there's not going to be 4 Batmans? I don't know what Gunn's vision is. Does Gunn? Why are you saying that? Maybe he can make it like the Spider-Man movie where he brings all the iterations of Batman together. If anybody can make that work, if he could make Guardians of the Galaxy work, James Gunn could make that work. Okay. So maybe that's some way, and he finds some solution to resolve this issue through, something fun and funny and whatever. Okay. But Zaslav has got to stop just jumping out there and say, oh, we're going to do this. You're the CEO, dude. How do you know how this is going to go? How do you hired Gunn to do this? How do you know what his vision is? All right. I give Disney and Marvel that much credit. The face of the MCU is, okay, all right, is always, Kevin Feige. And when we hear about the future, we hear it from Kevin Feige. Okay. We don't hear from Disney CEOs or vice presidents or whatever. That's what it needs to be. Zaslav comes out. It seems like he's more interested. Dude, you were the CEO of Discovery, bro. You made reality shows. Okay. That's why I was so surprised when they named him CEO. He's going to take over. What? What? Are you kidding me? What? The guy's done nothing but reality shows, and not really good ones either. I mean, ones that have unfortunately affected society in a negative way, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So why is he, he seems like, I'd like to hear more from Gunn. I like the, realizing that he just stepped into the role. There's a lot that he has to kind of digest and stuff, but I want to hear what he's going to tell us, what his vision is. Okay. Zaslav, you know what? Nobody in this community wants to hear from you. Everybody's pissed off that you shelved Batgirl in the first place. Okay. All right. And then you didn't have a reasonable explanation.
You keep bringing up this Batgirl thing, but what's crazy to me is that if you go out there and, on my channel or at my comic shop where these discussions are had, I get the overwhelming sense that most people didn't like Marvel's output this year, but they liked DC's output this year. A lot of people like that Batman movie. A lot of people love Peacemaker. A lot of people liking Black Adam. Not so many people were liking Doctor Strange. Not so many people were liking She-Hulk.
I'm not disagreeing with that at all. But my statement isn't disagreeing with that at all. Okay. I can understand that. We talked about it last Friday. We are fatigued by the number of things coming out from the MCU. Okay. As we talked about it, it's saturated, it's fatigue, it's whatever else. So anything, I think we're all, and if DC's smart, they realize this, anything that they put out, the fans are kind of starving for. We're looking for something new. I did like the Batman movie. Okay. But that was before the merger. Okay. I liked the Joker film. That was also before the merger. Okay. I haven't, at this point, I might as well wait until it streams, but I haven't seen Black Adam yet. But, there was some critics that didn't like it, but overall, I think the fans accepted it, and certainly Dwayne Johnson, so that's fine. But again, those are singular movies. I don't know about Black Adam, but the Batman Joker movies were singular movies. Okay. Peacemaker was just something Gunn got involved with and said, yeah, sure, I think this character is going to be great. Okay. And you took a character out of what was not, a very good movie twice and turned it into something that people really wanted to watch. And it was well made. But Gunn had the freedom at that point, and I think maybe with Guardians of the Galaxy as well, of just making the movie or making a series without having to think about, well, how's this going to tie in? He made an entertaining series and an entertaining series of movies. And then later they figured out a way to tie it all in, obviously. So that to me is what the problem is. And then you have the merger, and you have Zaslav making all of these pronouncements of we're going in this direction, we're doing this, we're doing that. And until he hired Peter Gunn, it was just like, I just felt like, dude, you're just a bunch of accountants making accounting decisions. And not that I think the Batgirl would have been phenomenal. I don't know. But you've made it. Fans want to see it. And you made a accounting decision. You didn't want to release it because
the other thing with the Batgirl thing is that allegedly it was also a change in like we're going in a different direction, and that was spotlighting another direction that they axed is the idea behind that Batgirl was setting up something where they were reshifting, getting rid of the Snyderverse. It was supposed, you hear all these rumors, nobody knows anything about what's really the case, you know what I'm saying? That being said, I am excited. I see some great ideas out there in the chat. Zatanna is one I would like to see. Mark McGrath's talking about a Green Arrow movie now that, he's right there in the public conscious because he just had that show on the air, Arrow for, a while ago. So people know who he is. Maybe it's time to like start small. I think starting small and leading into something bigger. That's what Marvel did, They started with a couple of Iron Man movies and Thor and Captain America, right?
One of the big mistakes I think they made in the past, and actually Zaslav is not responsible for this. If they do Arrow, if they do a Green Arrow movie, go with the actor that everybody loved as Arrow. Okay. They didn't do that with the Flash. Big mistake.
No, right? Dude, the Arrow show was so long. Like
I still believe that's going to work. I believe that continuity is going to work. Well, look at it this way. Really cost them with Flash, didn't it? Everybody loved Grant Gustin. Okay,
there is a major difference between CW drama shows, basically for teenagers, and like trying to make something that's going to appeal to as many people as possible.
I believe that the smartest thing that MCU did was when Daredevil comes back, it's still Charlie Cox. Okay, I believe that
there's
was
a difference between the Daredevil show on Netflix and the CW shows, Rex. There's a big difference between those, in quality and production.
I don't understand. I mean, Arrow was dark. I really enjoyed it. It was a dark show, very much like the Daredevil.
It was a dark show for like a quarter of a season, bruh. That's what it was. Then it just became like who's Ollie gonna sleep with today? Oh, let's just like have this Diane Sam thing like going on.
Like any TV series, you jump the shark after a while, right? It happens.
Yeah. So why would you want to continue this momentum, bro? They jumped the shark on Arrow in the middle of season 1. Like, why would we want to go back to that?
Because you have continuity with the actor, and he played a good role. The fact that the writing got worse. I mean, every show has a lifetime.
Did you see him as Casey Jones in that TMNT movie? He was terrible. He was terrible, man.
Oh yeah. I did with Megan Fox, right?
Yeah, he was terrible in that movie. I was like,
I hate to break it to you, that was a terrible movie. Okay,
it's actually not that bad of a movie, but he was terrible.
Actually, it was pretty bad. I enjoyed the first ones. I enjoyed the first versions where the guys were wearing basically like wearing the costumes and stuff. They were just basically big costumes.
Of course, the first one's better. I'm not saying that that's a great film. I'm just saying it's not as bad as people think, but he's bad in it. I don't think Stephen Amell needs to come in to do the cinematic Arrow. And I also think that time has passed. You know what I'm saying? Like that show's been over for a while. And the CW, the Arrowverse, whatever you want to call it, has really died a very slow death over a few years.
I don't disagree with any of what you're saying, but I believe that continuity would help them, not hurt them. Okay. I think if anything, the whole Flash debacle should, and forget that Ezra Miller had the total breakdown or whatever. Okay. It was a hard shift. And I think people would have enjoyed seeing Grant Gustin in the role. And I think he would have done a good job in the role. Okay. And it brings that continuity. And I think that in a sense, that's what James Gunn's going to have is challenged with. He's going to have to bring all these disparate parts. You say, see, now you're saying, okay, well, CW, now you don't want to deal with that. Okay. Well, then at some point you've got to cut everything else out. Okay. That includes the Batman movies and the Joker movies. Well, we're not doing that because they're making money. So it's in a sense, that's been the DC universe problem through all these years is we're going this way. Oh, wait, stop, make a U-turn. We're going this way. Oh, stop. We're going to make a U-turn. Let's go this way. Okay. And it's demonstrated by the Snyderverse and all of that with Justice League and everything else, everything, and making Suicide Squad twice. It's hard stop, make a turn, hard stop, make a turn. So you got to make one choice or another. You got to pick a direction to move in it, whatever that direction is. You and I may disagree about the direction that you take, but you've got to stop with these hard stops and turns. It's just, you're going to lose. Eventually you just get lost.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I mean, and one of their biggest problems was when they basically jumped away from the Zack Snyder stuff, right? When they jumped away from that, like they had the problem was there was a Wonder Woman movie that was successful, right? And then there was an Aquaman movie that was successful. And so like they couldn't like bring themselves to just cut it and then try to do something else. So now you got James Gunn, Peter Safran coming in to try to do what they're going to do, right? And I think they're going to keep the familiar actors, right? I think we're still going to have Jason Momoa as Aquaman going forward. We're going to have Gal Gadot. I don't know about Affleck as Batman. Seems like depending on the day of the week, he likes doing it or he doesn't. You know what I'm saying? He's kind of like back and forth. But we got Henry Cavill back as Superman. I think they're going to do that because those are the faces behind those roles right now to a lot of people, even if they didn't necessarily like the movies or whatnot. Wonder Woman and Aquaman were successes. Aquaman movie made $1 billion. I can't believe we live in a world.
I mean, you'd be stupid not to bring them back, right?
Yeah, obviously, exactly.
Momoa and Gal Gadot.
Yeah, so I think that they won't necessarily. I don't think it's going to be like as dark as the Snyderverse was. I don't think it's going to be as complex and all over the place as it has been since they got rid of Snyder. I think it will just bring some cohesion in, and from this point forward, let's just make some good movies. Let's build them up into something bigger, and let's hope we have some success. So here's the final question, man. Do you think it's going to be successful? James Gunn and Peter Safran, their tenure as heads of DC Films. What do you think?
I think that it's way too hard to tell, but I think they've got a much better shot at it now that they've put Gunn in charge of this kind of universe than they did before, because we know what Gunn can do. We know he's capable of making very good movies. He's able to take second tier, third tier characters and turn them into a success. His movies have the same amount of humor and darkness or whatever, but able to take that and make it work. But of course, he's not creating all the films by himself. He's only creating the template for the universe. So we'll see how much that transfers over. But I think they're in a much better position than they were yesterday before they brought them on board. At least you have somebody that's capable maybe of pushing it in that direction. Now, again, I don't know how much the company itself is going to start, sticking its nose in and trying to control the direction. And, we've already seen, Zaslav, is constantly out there in the news. We're not going to have 4 Batmans. Okay. So how much effect they're going to have before Gunn rips his hair out and says, you know what, I'm done. I'm done. You guys aren't listening to what I'm saying, and I'm not doing it anymore. So that's a real danger, I think. With Peacemaker, he didn't have that problem. He had freedom. Just, hey, we're taking this guy out. We're telling a pre-story. Here we go. All right, have at it. And he had at it, and it was phenomenal. I think very, very much the same with the first Guardians of the Galaxy. They're like, all right, well, let's take a shot at see what happens. It's not a top tier title, for comic book readers. Never was. So I think that he's shown that ability to do that. But how much interference is he going to get? And based on the fact that there are all these comments from Zaslav, I don't know. He seems to really enjoy that role, getting into the thing. All right. Well, Retro Girl, if so, then I got to tell you, if Zaslav is in charge all the way, it doesn't bode well. Okay. Again, this guy is a reality TV show guy. I don't see how that translates into, a resume for this.
He did television programming at Universal before all that.
We've
talked about that. He did television programming at Universal before the Discovery stuff, but you just gloss over that every time when you just love the idea that he's a reality show.
Yeah. So he did TV programming back in the day, where TV was very different than it is today, right? Where
maybe he's very different. Maybe he's very different today. Maybe he's very different today. Maybe he's a different person. Maybe he's learned some things. Maybe he's just like James, Peter, y'all got it. Maybe he's just talking out of his ass, Also, is he going out and being like calling a press conference to tell everybody this announcement about how there's not going to be 4 Batmans? Or is he just like being barraged by questions about this stuff? You know how the media is. Right?
It doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter. Okay. You talk about earnings. You're talking about shareholder value. You're talking about things like that. You're talking about, we got Gunn and it's going to be great. And I'm sure he's going to do, bring everything in line. That's it. You don't make a comment. They're not going to be 4 Batmans. You just don't. Okay. All right. Unless you're telling Peter Gunn, no 4 Batmans. I need you to eliminate 3 Batmans.
Or it's part of the pitch that he got from James Gunn and Peter Safran, right? And he knows that they're going to try to streamline things in, right?
Now you get your tinfoil hat on, buddy. Because basically
they got you think he just called him up and said he got the job?
No, wait, let me ask you a question. Do you think Peter Gunn needs Zaslav to leak information for him? No.
It's James Gunn.
Okay.
But
James Gunn, sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. I love how you combine them together like they're in a relationship. Peter Gunn, I like that. Or James Safran, let's do that, right?
But you see what I'm saying? I don't think he needs the CEO of the company to leak information for him. If he wants information,
he doesn't have to. But he's being asked these questions. Do you know what I'm saying? He's being asked these questions, and that James Gunn had a pitch for that position. They didn't just give it to him based on what they thought he was going to do. He had to lay out a plan.
I believe I believe the opposite occurred. I believe they came knocking on Gunn's door. Okay, hey, we need help. Look, we want you to do this.
You think it's like a Colts? You think it's like a Colts Jeff Saturday situation?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I don't think. Why would he? Yeah, thanks, Marcus. I don't think that he, obviously it's not about the money, right? Obviously he has a vision. Otherwise he wouldn't take the job. But with that vision, do you think he's knocking on the door saying, I can fix your big hot mess here? No, I don't think so. I think it's them going to him going, please come help us. We need somebody, a visionary to come do it. If you're going to hire a visionary, then let the visionary do his thing. Don't constantly talk it over him. And, he's been doing this since the takeover. I'm sorry. I'm not impressed. Okay.
You're not a fan, bro. I can tell. You're not a fan of that guy.
You come in and you make big pronouncements. We're going to do what MCU does. You don't even have somebody hired in place yet, but this is what you're saying to everyone. Okay. And your first move is to shelve things that are almost done and this and that, and create nothing but negative PR for yourself. So I don't see this as going in the right direction, if you will. Again, you can complain. We can all complain about the quality of MCU and the volume that's coming out, but take the lessons of what worked for them. The only voice we ever heard about the MCU was Kevin Feige. That was it. And that's the way it should be. And we recognize that it's Kevin Feige that's steering the ship, not the CEO who should be worried about shareholder value and all the other things. That's
Okay.
So
I got you.
All right, so integrity. It's not negativity of anything. It's just being honest. All right. I mean,
I don't know,
right
Rex. You seem pretty hurt about Batgirl in particular for some reason.
No, you know what? I bring that up. Look, you look at. To me, it's all factual. You look at the DCU, and why are we talking about it now? Because it's been a hot mess all the way through the years. No cohesive direction, just all over the place. Singular successes here and there. Then all of a sudden you have no integrity. I don't agree. I don't think bringing Cavill back is taking lessons from the MCU, to be quite honest. At that point, you've already run it. You had an opportunity to make the changes at that point in time. All right, when Cavill was not widely, he wasn't panned, but he wasn't great. But then he had the Affleck Batman to compare himself to, so I think he got kind of a pass. Obviously, Momoa worked, Gal Gadot worked. Okay, you build off of that. But you've seen what the DC universe has done through the years, and it has not been good. And since the buyout, okay, you want to quietly make changes. That's great. Making grand pronouncements and then still lacking any real direction is not good. Okay, the fact that you have Gunn in place now, that is good. Now, how much freedom he has, we don't know that. That obviously takes place at a long executive table in a boardroom that we're not privy to.
Yeah, and just knowing Gunn's history and his roots, I feel like creative freedom's got to be a part of the deal. And I think that he's going to bring that to the films, right? Like, because he ain't directing all these films, and the most important thing about all of this is that he's still doing Peacemaker season 2, right? So like, because everybody's like, well, you're going to do the next movie then, right? And he goes, no, I'm working on Peacemaker. Like I'm going to get the right people to do these things.
Right. And I think that's very important. Yeah, I think that's important in that I think Gunn will pick the right, or will do his best to pick the right, directors, writers, everything else. So I think that nerdtastic. I like that. I think that Discovery should just cross over all the reality shows with DC shows. Man versus Wild guest star Beast Boy and Booster Gold. I like that. Booster Gold Run. That's a good one. A Retro Girl. That's great, because I got it. I'm pretty sure you're going to hear a lot about his plans that may or may not come into fruition, and may directly conflict with whatever Gunn's trying to do. It never does anybody any good to be talking about this that much when you haven't even gotten off the starting line yet. And after the big mess that you see from behind, saying, we intend to fix this and whatever, that's great. He already said it. Making these constant specific statements, I don't think are helpful.
Well, we will definitely see how this progresses over the few years. We'll have a lot to watch, experience, and discuss, right? So
we will. Nerdtastic, dude. That would be awesome. 90-day fiance Batman, and at the end of every season, just like Batman can't be happy, so they just don't get married.
Sounds like Tom King would be doing that one, right?
That's the best idea I've heard. Right?
Yeah, I really like that.
It's a reality show. Oh my God.
Well, this has been a great conversation, and we appreciate everybody for joining us. And if you're watching this on the replay, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Rex, why don't you tell us what's coming up for you guys?
Well, we have the original art show tonight, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Experience, and then we'll be on with Bueller again on his channel tonight as well. I believe I want to say 8:30, starting Eastern time, and then of course we're back on Monday with Robbie and obviously John. I'm not sure. John may be going on another vacation, believe it or not. But Robbie will be here. I'll be here. I know, right? Either that or he's watching Black Panther again for the 50th time. I think he's up to 10 so far.
Wow.
Well, no, he's actually fallen off pace a little bit. I think,
that is off pace, but the movie is 2 hours and 40 minutes. So, but then again, he saw the Batman so much, and that was a 3-hour movie. So
that's true. But I think he was up to 10 on Wednesday. So that number could have moved. That dial could have moved.
Most definitely moved since Wednesday, I bet, if I had to guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
I was chatting with him a little bit last night because Spam's got this figgy pudding out. Like Spam's released a figgy pudding. So I messaged John. I was like, what's figgy pudding? It's like figgy pudding. I was like, is it supposed to have Spam in it? Like, what's going on here? And he was telling me about the history of figgy pudding. So maybe we'll touch on that on Monday's show. So that'd be fun.
I don't even know what figgy pudding is.
I just remember it from some Christmas songs, but it's like apparently a British thing. Just ask John. He'll tell you. He knows the whole spiel. He knows the whole spiel.
Of course he does.
Of course he does. As far as me, joining me tomorrow night on Dylan's Horror Show, we're talking about the latest Hellraiser film, the 2022 Hellraiser, available exclusively on Hulu. And then on Monday night, we're talking about The Godfather Part 2, one of the greatest American films of all time. So thank you all so much for joining us. On behalf of everybody, we're dipping. Hey, thank you for the super chat, Consensual Sense Slots.
Yeah, and Integrity, I'm glad you enjoyed the show. I hope you tune in every Friday. It's not always like that. Sometimes Robbie and I agree, which is kind of boring. But glad you enjoyed the show, and that's what makes it interesting. We don't all have to agree. So I love conversations like this. So,
absolutely.
Retro Girl, glad you joined as well. Marcus, as always, buddy. All right, Marcus has become one of the faithful. He's always with us. So love you, man. Yeah. All right.
We appreciate everybody watching and all the support, and join us next week for another fun conversation about this wild world of pop culture.